now to our friends on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, or at least it's
Hello.
trying to get started there to do that. So it is so good to have John, you with us. It's like we're just missing Sarah on our Friday afternoon scramble, which we haven't had forever since I moved.
Long time.
The price of eggs have prohibited us from having our scrambled experiences. And now I don't know, I heard the chickens are putting tariffs on, and you just never know what the prices are going to be. I know, nothing political, nothing social. We don't normally go there with Octavia.
Tariffs and eggs. I like it.
Yeah. So, but it is an interesting idea that what we're talking about before we hit the go live button is the things that impede, prohibit, impact our ability to do our jobs effectively. So you both are telling travel stories because travel is an essential part of how we deliver our services and what we do. And so Monica just got back from a really difficult, unbelievable experience that it prohibited her from even getting to do the job that she loves to do and that people want her to do. So, Monica, tell us a little bit about that and how you process through some of that. And then, John, you just were out on the West Coast and had some also travel things. So, let's just talk about the aspects of business, not just ours, but of everybody's, and how what we get to do, how it affects us and others as well.
Yeah. So I'm just reminded that there's so much out of our control. And no matter what job you're working, and as I was interacting with drivers and captains and flight attendants, everyone was waiting on someone else. And so much of their job, and then get my job, what I was trying to do and trying to get to, everybody was dependent on each other. And I think that's so much about work, whether you work in a small team, a large team, a small group, or a big organization. So much of our life and our work life is dependent on other people and their decisions and waiting for them. And I've got to experience it probably in one of the worst ways the last couple days, because I was supposed to be in New Hampshire yesterday for Granite State SHRM conference, which I was so looking forward to. And the weather and plane maintenance just would not allow it. I think I probably in total had over 10 delays in a matter of 2 days and one cancellation. And it was due to weather, and then it was due to plane maintenance, and then it was due to weather. And so it was just one thing after another. And the crazy part is that everyone I talked to, from the captain to the stewardess to the front desk, all people on the phone trying to figure things out, it's not that I could tell. It was not like they're like, I'm not taking ownership of this problem. It wasn't like that.
Yeah.
It was, they were trying to do their job, but so much of what they were needing to do and to make decisions was dependent on someone else and dependent on someone else. And so there's like this domino effect. And I think what all of us have to remember, from me to the stewardess, to the captains, to the people on the phones, customer service, is that, so much is out of our control. And there does come a point, because I don't like being in the back seat. It's really difficult to roll with the punches when you're trying to achieve something. And I just kept trying to I was literally like stretching, find a corner, and I'm like doing this, like doing deep breathing. I'm like, and I just kind of tried to convince myself, like, this is okay. Everything's going to be okay. I'm doing everything I can do. The rest is out of my hands. I get to make decisions based off of, the information that we have at hand. And so, so it was tough lessons to learn. But
John, you can speak to this, because I recall part of an organization that you were in, that, boy, there are different departments that were dependent on one another, and instead of them stretching and breathing, it would just, in the sense of, we're taking ownership for ours, and we're taking ownership for ours, but we're not taking ownership for this gap, probably where John got all his messages, this gap between us that creates friction. Like, instead, so it's really great to hear you say that. All the people are like, we're owning it, to the extent that we can.
Right.
And then there's other things, because I know in businesses, organizations, when people feel like somebody's not getting something done, it's a lot of blaming,
Right.
accusing, and there's no sense of like you're owning it, because if you owned it, and I'm sure, Monica, there were people who were flying who were trying to fly on the plane who weren't responding as positively.
Listen, it was a scene from a movie, like Home Alone, one of those scenes where there's like a whole terminal full of people who are on their phone, yelling, trying to figure stuff out, doing this, that, and the other. And so it really is tough. I mean, it was, some people you do look at, not very many, but you're like, I hope I don't sound like that. But I mean, it does inspire me to like take a deep breath and be like, am I centered right now? Am I in control?
Well, and what's crazy is that it's kind of like John Candy's character from Home Alone, Mr. Polka Polka Polka, who shows up in that moment and has a completely different attitude, sees an opportunity, says, hey, I can help you get through this because we've only got each other. And it always stands out as such a huge force multiplier because they create solutions out of really difficult situations. Be like John Candy. I think that's what I heard.
How did your experiences go? Because you were flying when you had a different kind of scenario that impacted you. So, Monica, what I heard you say was doing what you could do meant you kept limber and like the healthy mindset and tried to exert patience and tried to hear that other people were doing their best and not doing that. So that's kind of like you could own your attitude, as they say.
You know, my experience was, I had two different ones from this last trip, right? So I had one where it is all headwinds. Coming back in Oklahoma City, there was some crazy weather. At the time, I wasn't aware how crazy it was. They said, hey, we might experience a little bit of wind, 25-mile-an-hour winds. Cool. They're like, we're going to fly around it. And as
I'm going to tell you, I was here, and that was some of the wildest windstorms I've ever seen come across the state.
Straight up.
Okay, go ahead.
It's saying a whole lot in Oklahoma. And so as we're approaching the airport, like on my phone on the app, it says like, hey, you got 5 minutes left. I'm like, great, 5 minutes left. We're almost home. Everything's cool. We had a little bit of turbulence, and I was like, well, that was the 25-mile-an-hour winds. Well, suddenly we lose altitude like 2 or 3 different times. Like plane is here and then it's here, and it's not like we're doing this on purpose. Then the second thing that happened, I looked out the window, which I never look out the window, and it's like close the blinds, mind your own business, and just touch inanimate objects like Monica. Just like I can control my peace. I can control my peace. I made the mistake of looking at what does the lighting look like on the plane. It kept going in and out. Suddenly, the lights on the plane keep going in and out, so it's dark, light, and then the scariest thing happens. We're fishtailing back and forth, like I felt like it was in like a 1980s grade, like gooses. We're in fighter jets, like that's what's going through my mind. I'm like, I belong on the ground. But the next moment that comes, and this is a very human moment, and everybody I think has experienced this sense of insecurity that this might be the end, right? Like I remember the first time I went through a riff, it was that sense of insecurity. This might be the end. I might be losing my job. I'm out of control. People are making decisions that I'm unaware of. There is a pilot. I have no idea if that pilot went to sleep, if the pilot is at 2 hands on the wheel. Have they been through this before? Suddenly I'm asking all of those questions because no one's saying anything. And so you don't communicate. Why? We're holding our breath. And in holding our breath, there's this moment where you feel like this might be my last moment. And so I go to, in my mind, I'm like, I need to text Trisha. I've already talked to my maker. Like, y'all, I sat there, I'm like, am I at peace with myself? Am I done with this life? I mean, I had those kind of conversations. And we land the plane, and then I asked somebody else, they were like, oh, it wasn't just me? I was like, that must have been all that, like everybody was holding their breath in at the same time. And it was amazing how getting through it, we literally were like friends by the time we get to the terminal, where we're like, we made it through, y'all. So that was the headwinds thing where you just feel like I cannot control the path I'm on, no matter what I do. So that was my headwinds.
So hold on, John. So it says that sometimes the things we fear the most, there, and it may feel like it's a very good reason to have this fear. There's no cause for it. Like you landed, you got off the plane, and what's funny also is like you all bonded. You have this sense of bonding through this perceived trauma
That wasn't.
momentary blip. And you don't know if the pilot was just like, oh man, I have done this before. Like we've gone through this, and we're gonna be just fine. And so instead of him saying that, where everybody's on the plane, like, no, we're not gonna be fine. But he knows it, and he's got it. And yet it's so interesting, like all those things that take place when at work. I mean, there is so much perceived trauma that may or may not happen. There is so much perceived wrongs or things to fear that is like, if we'll just maintain some of this stability, it is going to work out. I mean, nothing's guaranteed, right. But there are certainly things that people surely magnify and expand in their minds and have conversations about. And it's like, oh, none of that happened. So I guess, and yet it creates this interesting bond. So if you do that with like gossip, or you do that with being derogatory about another leader or somebody who's making decisions, you're like, this is the worst decision ever. And then it's like, well, I guess it didn't turn out so bad. You just never know.
And other than the adrenaline that's pumping when you're walking off the plane, everything else is wasted energy, right? Like yes. Now it's good energy to talk to your maker. That's always do that. However, like all of the fear and the anxiety, I experienced as if I had lost my life. I'm gonna just tell you, like on the inside, I'm like, you know what? We are Gullah Gullah Island or Gilligan's Island. Gullah Gullah Island. That's another good one. Yeah. But Gilligan's Island, like we are basically on an island. I'm never coming back to my home. Like it was that kind of unnecessary fear. So Greg, can I tell a headwind story, a positive one?
Quickly, John, tell us.
Okay, so check this out. I'm in Oregon. Some of y'all in Oregon, you'll be like, this is every day. For those who aren't from Oregon, it was new to me. I go to pull into a gas station. There's an attendant there, and it is the norm to let them pump your gas. Yeah. And so I pull in. I didn't know that. So I'm at a Love's, which is based here in Oklahoma, and I've been there doing my Blue Zones thing, and I introduced myself, and he said, "Hi, I'm going to pump your gas." I'm like, "Who? You going to do what? Why are you here right now?" And so we end up taking photos together. I get to know the guy, and he says, "Oh yeah, totally, it happened." And he was just like, "Man, can I get you a snack from inside?" Like it was just this. I mean, it was the most bizarrely wonderful thing, and y'all, it delighted my soul for the rest of the day. It was on my path. I did not anticipate someone was going to go out of their way to serve me. I tipped him. He was like, you're not supposed to usually do this, but I'll take your money. And and so it was like this really great moment of my trip. I feel that much love for Loves now, and this guy was just doing his job. And so I think in the workplace, sometimes we interact with somebody who goes out of their way to make our lives easier. It's not their job, it's not their responsibility, but it gives wind to their wings, and how they see the rest of the work that they do for the rest of their path changes by just that kindness and that extra step and that extra mile.
That's so good. Monica, did you have any experiences because you were in Chicago for a long, long day and a half? Yeah. Any interactions with any people there? Because can you imagine being in that environment every day and serving people who are emotionally hijacked and full of frustration? Like your clientele is just always in a hurry or disappointed, that kind of thing. Did you have any kind of interactions with anybody there that was just even neutral?
I mean, I would say it was neutral, but like in those times, I personally take a lot of responsibility to be as kind as possible to the people that I am asking their service of. I know it's their job, but I recognize that they are under an immense amount of stress. Yeah. And the decisions that they're having to make and the people that they're affecting is great. And so just to have a sense of graciousness to those people. And then, the thing is like, then I, talk to our conference directors who are wonderful up there in New
So
Hampshire.
gracious.
And they were also so gracious towards me, in the situation that I was in. And so I just think, it's really important to keep that in mind, that no matter how dire things feel, you don't have to lose your kindness.
You and John both had near-death experiences.
Mine wasn't near death. Mine was just,
If you had continued, if you had persisted on, dire. It's the word, the dire.
Anything could happen.
Anything could happen. But okay, we should wrap this up. But Monica, you didn't take any pictures with any employees there. Like John's taking pictures with the attendant. So that's so fun.
I had some great conversations with people in waiting and,
I would think so.
being around, but yeah,
Good,
I didn't
good.
take pictures with them though.
Yeah. So our wrap up is, listen, you don't want to generate unnecessarily negative energy in your workplace for a future that is unknown. You want to find the things that you can control, and everything else, you got to just let that go. And that is one of the hardest things to do. And so Monica talked about doing exercise, stretches, things that mentally and physically releases some of that energy, right? And you weren't doing like jazzercise in the corner, but a little bit stretching. Find the ways that you can release the negative energy without amplifying it at work, and be, I think, consistently aware that more is out of our control always. And the more we try to control things that we can't, just the more exasperated, frustrated, and painful it'll be for everybody.
Yep.
Right? Good takeaways?
For sure.
Okay,
Yep,
you
I
all
like
have
it.
a fantastic Friday, and we'll figure out if we can get some eggs back here someday. See you, bye. Look at that. So that was like 15, 17 minutes. John, we've been doing